Good morning, church. Oh, there's a lot of people out there. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Emily Gallo. I was raised in a Roman Catholic household, surrounded by a big, loud, and loving family. We had our problems, like every family does, but as a whole, I consider myself incredibly blessed to have a family that I did. Though my family went to church every Sunday and I myself was heavily involved in the church proceedings, I very rarely thought about God outside of the church walls, and even more rarely thought about what comes after this life. Would I go to heaven? I sang the songs, prayed the prayers, received all my sacraments. Why wouldn't I go to heaven? So what if I didn't know who Jesus really was? I followed the rules. And yet, for some reason, I was terrified. That inexplicable fear developed sometime in high school and progressively got worse as I got older. The gnawing existential dread that I was constantly waiting for the other shoe to drop, which made no sense to me because I always did what I was supposed to. Yeah, okay, I went to rock concerts and parties, and I drank and did things that my parents would definitely frown upon. But that didn't matter, right? My good outweighed my bad. But then, what if I got it wrong? What if God didn't exist and heaven isn't real? My faith was always just about following the rules some guy wearing a fancy robe told me to follow, and my mother sagely reminding me, what would Jesus do? How was I supposed to know? I never met the guy. I never experienced anything that proved what I was doing really did anything. What if when we died, that was it? Our bodies rot, and everything that makes us who we are rot with it. This thought process actually made me cling harder to the fragile faith I had because it gave me the only lifeboat I could see in the tumultuous waters of my anxiety about life and death. If I didn't look too closely at it and didn't think too hard, I would be safe. Then I had the absolute pleasure of meeting the Flood family. The long story short of it, they brought me to this church and it completely freaked me out. Shook that lifeboat I had so carefully crafted. It was so loud, so joyous. There was a spirit in the building I could not name, and that bothered me. This was nothing like the solemn and reverent mass that I was used to attending, so I started asking questions. Why were these people acting so crazy, and more importantly, how were they so assured they were right? I directed all of these questions entirely towards Rob and Gina Flood, whom I would like to add took them all in stride and graciously answered every question biblically and intelligently. With our constant meetings and discussions, they had recommended the bridge course here at Covenant Fellowship. I said, why not? I had something to prove to myself, that they could not possibly be right about God and what I had known my entire life to be true, and what I had been doing was perfectly acceptable. I came to the bridge course twice. The first time I attended in the fall with a guarded heart and with a chip on my shoulder. I sat and observed, but I quickly started asking hard questions, some towards my group leaders, shout out to Jeff and Lily, group 3, and some toward, oh, that's them, and some towards Jim. I have come to be thankful for Jim Donahue's patience with me and my challenging questions. As the sessions went on, I can now look back and see just how the Lord was softening my heart through the first bridge course. I went in with a scientific mind as an investigative reporter of sorts, almost trying to trip Jim up and be able to say, gotcha. But as the weeks progressed, that is not at all what I found. I found that I enjoyed his lectures and that they answered a lot of the root questions I always had in my life, like, why does God allow suffering? And can we really trust the Bible? Though things were interesting to me intellectually, it wasn't until Bridge Retreat when things started clicking for me emotionally. The Holy Spirit was in that room, and I finally was able to let go of what I was so desperately clinging to and decided to fully pursue the study of the Bible, to not question religion, but to genuinely learn and get to know Christ. I spent the next few weeks almost like a changed person. People noticed a difference in my actions and how I held myself. They all wanted to know what was different. I call it the Holy Spirit high, but I had one regret about taking the bridge course the first time, and that was that I didn't really give it a fair shot or pay attention to the important things Jim was trying to get across to me. I was more concerned about whether or not I could trust what they were telling me and not about the content they were actually telling me. Therefore, I decided I needed to take the course a second time with new eyes and a new goal. The results were wildly different. I realized God was using my second time through the bridge course to draw me close to Him and strengthen our relationship. I don't want to stand in front of you today and profess that the bridge course saved me. The bridge course wasn't what saved me. Jesus dying on the cross for my sins is what saved me. Amen. But the bridge course was a wonderful stepping stone to help me on my journey to the Lord. It gave me a safe space to ask questions without being rebuked for asking them, and gave me even more insight to the depth of the Christian faith. It was a starting point in my journey to salvation, and I would like to encourage anyone who needs a starting point, who is curious but doesn't really know how to go about finding answers to the questions you have. If you're willing, come with open minds and open hearts. All are welcome, and it could possibly change your life. I know that it did mine. Okay.